then. So welcome everybody. My name's James Ransley and I'm the Chair of Kingsnorth Parish Council. This is the annual parish meeting of Kingsnorth Parish, which is slightly different. It's not actually a parish council meeting, but is a meeting of registered electors of the parish, which is held annually. I think historically the root of this was that parishioners used to meet annually to decide what needs to be done in the parish, and that was often to do with the church and how they were going to fund it. Now the parish council tends to make a lot of the decisions, and this group tends to meet, and it's a chance for everybody to speak and raise their concerns, and then potentially they get forwarded to the parish council to be discussed and see what we can do about them. So I'd like to let everybody, I should say first, actually, this meeting is being recorded. Firstly, that's for the minutes, but also the parish council now has said that it will publish these videos online on YouTube. Now, should a resident wish for that not to be published, then do let Peter know and we'll probably be able to manage that in editing. Although if you do ask a question, then we probably will need to keep the audio of the editing in so that it makes sense. But let me know if you've got any issues with that. Thank you. So could we go around and have people introduce themselves, please? Let's go Peter first then, as nobody's volunteering.
Hello, can you hear me? Hi, I'm Councillor Stuart Moss for the Kingsnorth Roman Ward. And sitting beside me is my lovely wife, Patricia, who is also councillor for the Roman Ward. And we've been members of the parish. I'm a new member, just over a year, but Patricia's been on for about 6 or 7 years now.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hicks.
Right, I'm Aileen Hicks. I'm also a parish councillor. I joined the parish council sometime in the 90s, and I live along Magpie Hall Road. I'm very concerned about Chilmington Green and the traffic along Magpie Hall Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other volunteers? I'm going to call people out.
I'm Councillor Ben Townend for Park Farm North. I actually live in Bridgefield, but I've been a member of the council now since 2019, I think. So yeah, nice to meet you.
Marie, do you want to?
I'll unmute myself. I am part of the office staff. I am the administrator, so I do the minutes. Yeah, that's me.
Okay, thank you. Peter?
Hi, I'm Peter Rossignol. I'm the parish council manager, so I oversee the 3 members of staff plus look after all the councillors. I've been in post since June 2019, so this is my first annual meeting of the parish due to the coronavirus pandemic. And welcome all to the meeting.
Thank you. Christine, please.
Hello, I'm Chris. I'm the assistant parish clerk dealing mainly with the finance. I've worked for the parish council since 2014, and I work part-time, just 2 days a week, and Marie does the other half. And it's very nice to see a few residents here at the meeting.
Thank you. Shelley, please.
Hi, my name's Shelley Barber. I'm basically a councillor for Park Farm North as well, along with Ben. And I've sort of decided to be in Kingsnorth now since 2003. That's it.
Okay, thank you. So I've got Matt O'Neill next on my screen.
Hi, I'm Matt. I'm Pete's managing supervisor. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Matt Bridger.
I'm a councillor, Matt Bridger, the councillor for Park Farm South, having been elected in 2019 by residents. So thank you for joining the meeting, and it's nice to see some residents here as well.
Okay, thank you. I'm not going to force the residents to introduce yourselves, but if you'd like to, then you're very welcome to.
I don't mind. I'm Bernice Barber. Lived on Park Farm for about 26 years. Park Farm North, that's it. And just interested to hear what's said. And yeah, that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
Evening, my name's Josh. Hopefully you can hear me. I too have lived in Park Farm for quite a number of years, nearly 20 years, and just really interested to hear what the parish council's got to say. And maybe at the end of this, we've got some time to discuss some local issues. That'd be great.
Okay, we will do.
Hi, I'll speak next. I'm Debs. I lived in Park Farm only for 3 years, but I'm in Farrers Walk off of Roman Way, and again, very interested in local issues because I know there's been some changes locally with maybe some community issues local to us. And my colleague, is a friend of mine is also on this meeting, has just disappeared, but she put the name Fluffy up because that's a nickname for her dog, but she's a very serious individual, and hopefully she'll be back online soon. And this is being recorded for eternity, so hopefully she'll bear that in mind next time she joins, but that's me.
Thank you. Councillor Cosgrove, I've not got you on screen, but I don't know if you wanted to say anything.
Yeah, leaving Jeff Cosgrove, councillor for Kingsnorth Village, been with the parish since 2019.
Okay, thank you. If there aren't any more residents wishing to speak, then I'm going to move on along the agenda. So if you'd like to, then let me know. Okay, so Peter, have we had any apologies?
Yeah, Councillor Cosgrove, Councillor Wedgbury said he wouldn't be able to make it because he's got a borough council meeting, and Councillor Hayward was due to try and attend the first half of this meeting but hasn't joined us yet, so I'm guessing that she's sending her apologies as well.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the annual meeting of the parish held on the Tuesday the 23rd, 2019. So due to coronavirus, we weren't able to hold the meeting in 2020. Now, given this isn't a council meeting, what would normally happen here is that those who were in attendance would vote as to whether the minutes are an accurate record of what happened. Now, although I'm the chair of the parish council, I'm not a resident of the parish, and therefore I'm not eligible to vote. But those of you who were in attendance and are residents of the parish, are you happy that the minutes are an accurate record of the past meeting?
I propose the minutes are accepted.
I second that.
Thank you. Did I have any questions from anyone? Otherwise, I'm intending to move to a vote, which would be by a show of hands, please, if possible. Okay, all those in favour, please.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you. Any against or abstentions? Okay, thank you. That passes.
Chairman, I do have another apology. Councillor Kumar.
Sorry, of course, yes. Yep. Right, so the next matter is matters arising from the minutes. So does anybody have any questions based on the minutes of the previous meeting? Okay, thank you. So the annual report from Kingsnorth Parish Council. Now, I think that Peter's prepared some slides for us and is going to talk us through what we've been up to in the past year. And then if you've got any questions, then I don't know if you might take them along the way, but do say. So I'll hand over to you, Peter.
Thank you, James. I've put together a short video, so I'll share this in a second. It has got some music to it, so it might come out quite loud. So just to warn you. hopefully the technology will work. So what I'll do is I'll share the screen. You can watch the video, and if you have got any questions, you can ask them at the end. It's just a very short 1 minute 5 seconds video, because I thought it'd be easier to show you a video of some of the highlights of this past year without having to stand there or sit here and talk for more than probably a minute. So, okay, I'll just share this screen. Let's hope it works. This is where the technology doesn't work, doesn't it? Come on, I did this like 3 seconds before. Where is it? How did I do it before? Let me try coming down. I can't even see it now. Apologies for this. I will find it. Is it? Let me try playing it. Typical, isn't it? I can't find it. Try that one. Right.
Did you want us to discuss finance while you have a play with that, Peter?
No, yes, maybe. Apologies for this. Hang on. Right, I found it now. Okay, so apologies for that. Hopefully everyone can see this. Okay, so as I said, just a nice short little film just to show what the parish council have done over the past year. You know, we could put a lot more in there, but we just wanted to highlight kind of the things that we have done. On top of the 19,000 that we did give out to community organisations, we also have given out £9,000 to local schools to support young people and families in need during the COVID pandemic and after. So anyone that's kind of in need of free school meals, or for example, the John Wallace Academy have been giving out food hampers. The Towers School, which have got young people from Kingsnorth there, been supporting a family living in Kingsnorth that need help with uniform. So yeah, we've had although it's been a very difficult year, we've continued to support our community and provide much needed help. If you've got any questions, please ask, and myself or any other councillors will be able to answer them.
Okay. Councillor Hicks.
I just wanted to say I think it's a big improvement having a video like that rather than having to listen to a dry speech. I think it gives people a much better idea of what's happened. We should have adopted that years ago. So well done, thank you.
What's he saying about my speeches, Aileen?
No, doesn't mean you, but just generally.
Okay, no, I agree. Okay, I think we'll take the general questions at the end. But if people have got any questions on anything in particular, then let me know, but I don't see anybody. So the next item was the annual financial report of Kingsnorth Parish Council. Peter, was this you or Christine, or am I giving a broad?
I've got some pie charts which Christine has kindly put together, so I can share them.
Okay.
And then between us, we can kind of talk through it. So hopefully everyone can see these. I'll reduce them slightly so it's a little bit not so big. Okay, so obviously we're looking at the 2021 financial year. This just gives you an outline of our income. Obviously, because of the pandemic, there were a number of areas that were lower than expected because of the lockdowns and stuff. So the Pavilion High was down, the Mugger High was quite down, and obviously our community cafe was only open for I think about 2 to 3 months between lockdowns. So the anticipated income was around about 280, similar time to this year, but because of obviously because of the lockdowns and pandemic, the income was slightly down. We also had reduced expenditure, especially around salaries, because we did lose a member of staff just before the new financial year. So in the budget we had an extra member of staff, so obviously that did come down. So that's the expenditure there. And then the budget for this forthcoming year, we have reduced the staffing budget overall down to 39%. The precept we've kept the same, so we haven't increased the precept for the last 2 financial years, so there's no increase. Obviously we've increased our expenditure on community projects, so you can see there under grants, the green corridor and the pavilion and admin includes a lot of the projects that we're working towards in the next year. James, did you want to add anything to that?
Perhaps so due to coronavirus we did underspend last year, but in the new budget we overspent. Well, we planned to overspend slightly by the same amount as we anticipated we'd underspent in the financial year just gone. So we're sort of catching up on what we weren't able to do during the last financial year. Councillor Townend?
Just as well, we didn't raise the precept either for the last 2 years.
Yeah. Well, because it gets a bit complicated, the precept. So we chose not to raise the precept on a Band D basis, but that actually meant that the total amount we got in reduced because a percentage of houses fell out of the relevant brackets for council tax due to the economic impacts of coronavirus. So it was a fall to the parish council, but residents will experience it as the same level of council tax precept. Sorry. Okay. Are there any questions particularly on the finance, or do you want to move to general questions, which I imagine might be where we're going? Okay, so I think we'll move on from that one to open forum. And if members of the public have got questions, I think the procedure here generally is that they're directed at me, and then if I feel someone can answer it better than I can, then which may be the case, then I'll direct it to somebody else. And if they want to assist me, then put a hand up and let me know, please. Okay, so have we got any members of the public that would like to ask questions about how we're dealing with issues that they're experiencing, or what we might do next year that they think we should do? Then now's the time, really.
Hi, James. I'll go first if you like. I'd just like to understand the relationship between yourself and Ashford Borough Council when it comes to sort of reporting matters that are happening in the local area, and how can you guys help maybe with some of the issues that residents are seeing and reporting and actually not getting much traction with in terms of either Ashford Borough Council or the police. So specifically, what's driving me at the moment, and you're probably going to wince, is the ongoing activities at the Cloverfield roundabout at the end of Park Farm, with the influx of caravans and recently the illegal motocross activities that have been ongoing for months now. And both parties who you usually turn to for help are sort of looking at each other and saying, well, it's not us, it's you. Or it's even worse, it's a multi-agency response, which, as we all know, takes months and months and months, even though both parties say, yes, this is illegal, antisocial, and shouldn't be allowed to continue. So I was just wondering, how do you guys interact?
Okay, so thank you for the question. So perhaps if I give some history there. So initially I think there was boot fairs last autumn that were being proposed, and the parish manager reported that to, I think we got KCC Highways involved, Highways England were involved, Ashford Borough Council were involved, both from asking a planning question and also a community safety question about the road. Also, environmental were interested in the implications of boot fair being there and things. In the end, I think at the time when that one was originally held, someone was seen to be reversing up the dual carriageway, and by Highways Agency staff who were there to monitor whether it was going to cause a safety issue. So I believed at the time it was stopped due to that issue. And then, as you say, there were the caravans moving on site and tyres. And at that point, we did raise with Ashford Borough Council whether, because we understood that residents had reported it, whether it had been, they could confirm that there was an open enforcement case there. We didn't get a definitive response on that for quite a period of time. And after that happened, carried on for a while, we were then chasing with the portfolio holder for planning at Ashford. Now, my understanding of Ashford's position at the time was that they were looking at that as a planning issue. Now, as a planning issue, boot fairs or motocross you're allowed to do for 14 days in each calendar year. I think it's a calendar year. It may actually be date to date, but I think it's calendar year. So at the time, they were saying that there wasn't a planning issue there on that ground. Now, my understanding is the case. My understanding is that the motocross has happened for a sufficient number of days that they accept that it is over the 14 days. It's therefore not a permitted use that a landowner of an agricultural field or tenant could use that field for. So, and also my understanding is that with motocross, there is some appeal decisions and case law on the changes that are necessary for it to form a track can be considered to be permanent and in effect inhibiting the primary use which you would believe to be agricultural. So it is a planning issue even irrespective of the 14 days. So they could use only 2 days, but with the track laid out, then you can have an issue there. So it can be a planning issue then. Now, so we're pursuing what avenues we can, and we do understand that residents have got concerns about this. Highways England, really, if they think it's safe going in and out, I mean, there is a degree of access there already, but they would probably say it's a planning issue if it's being used for that, for us to then comment at a later date. when the application comes in. I'm going to speak more generally now. So hypothetically, if there's an application in the parish and someone comes to us and says this needs planning permission, then normally the parish council will report that to Ashford Borough Council, because we don't carry out surveillance on our residents. That's not our role. And I don't think residents would want it to be our role. I mean, we may walk past some things and understand the situation a bit better. Ashford, if they believe that there is an enforcement issue, would then, my understanding generally, be they would speak to the landowner or the tenant, and request a meeting. They'd have a meeting and they'd form a view on whether it needed planning permission or not. If they felt they did need planning permission, or it wasn't permitted development, so to speak, then they wouldn't jump straight to saying this is illegal and therefore you need to remove it, because that would be predetermining the application. I think what they'd have to do is they'd have to say, if you don't, you need to submit an application on this, otherwise we'd enforce. And so in general, a landowner or tenant would then say, oh, well, I need a bit of time to put an application in. And the courts would think that Ashford needs to be reasonable on that and give them a bit of time, so they'll have to do that. Then they'd have to determine the application. Once that application has been determined, if the works aren't then removed, if they're determined to be without planning consent, then I imagine Ashford would pursue enforcement against the landowner or tenant. In that scenario, Ashford has to form a view that it's in the public interest to pursue that enforcement, because it's not cheap, and there are lots of enforcement cases in Ashford where Ashford takes a view that it's not worth it. So it is definitely worth residents' while in reporting the concerns that they have and the nuisance that they feel they're receiving from their dwellings, and just generally when they're trying to enjoy the area that they live in. And that will be the point at which Ashford's got to sort of take that view and do the enforcement. Now, as I imagine you can understand, there are, with some of these things potentially involving the court and things, there are things that Ashford are and may be doing that we won't be fully read into as a parish council. But my understanding certainly is that there are multiple groups working on this very, very regularly, and that they are on the ball on this, but it's not going to be something where all of a sudden it can be solved within a week. And I know that residents would like it solved quicker, but I understand it is being dealt with as swiftly as it can be, given the available tools, I suppose.
James, thanks. That's a really comprehensive answer. I suppose, is your view, therefore, that we absolutely, all of us, should continue to, report every single time they use it, so that it just continues to build up the evidence base and express the antisocial nature? Because I must admit, when I have been speaking to a very nice lady at Ashford Borough Council, having got past their customer services department, who is logging it all and passing it across to other people in Ashford Borough Council. But even she was, forced to admit that the environmental team who were dealing with it don't have limited powers, and it takes a long time. Whereas if it comes under the antisocial banner, it might move a little bit quicker. However, she used the words, I would have to attract the attention of the antisocial sort of team who deal with these matters, which is a little bit farcical, but I get your point that, a number of agencies have to come together. So I suppose my plea would be, I'm not on social media very regularly, but one of my neighbours who is suggested I look at the Park Farm community Facebook page. And I know there's a number of posts on there that, residents have expressed the sort of, why are we even bothering? Because nothing is happening. And I get there's a process. I work for a very large corporation who love process. But, the fact of the matter is the general tenor of the comments is sort of, well, nobody seems to be interested, absolutely dreading, summer coming because it's just going to be horrific. So it's really difficult. And I suppose the only plea I'd make is if you guys have got any leverage at all, so you continue to, as you are, I know you are, press the button as much as you can do, and suggest to people who comment to you that they report absolutely everything. And equally, when I've spoken to the police, they've said, yeah, we want as much information as possible as well, although they don't do very much with it. So yeah, any help you can provide would be much appreciated, I know.
So I will come to Ben in a second, but I mean, as an example, I mean, Peter's parish manager, and he speaks to the PCSO weekly and more often on this, because normally over the weekend we've received a wedge of emails about it and need to deal with that. And as you say, reporting it is the thing to do, and we are trying to say that on social media. At the same time, we have written out to the portfolio holders at Ashborough Council in 3 separate portfolios to try and get them to all work together on this. But it's I guess it's quite difficult to lay out what I've just sort of said in about 10 minutes, or it felt like I might have taken that long in a sort of social media summary and in a way that's easily digestible. So that's, I suppose, the difficulty that I've been having. And also, some of these things aren't certain until they're decided, and we have to be careful about how we word things and things like
absolutely
that.
Understand. Yeah. Thank you.
Can I take Ben and then Peter, please?
Thank you, James. Just again, thank you for the question. And as the councillor, along with Shelley, for Park Farm North, obviously, you can imagine the frustration that we have as well, because we're just as passionate as you are to get this matter resolved, but we're limited in the power that we have to do it. So we have been escalating this as much as we can. We've gone through all the channels that we can, and I know that that's frustrating to hear that we keep on doing it and nothing's coming, but it is a slow turning moving machine. And I think from what we've established today is obviously when residents complain on Facebook, that's one thing, and obviously that raises awareness, but those same residents need to then log that on the app as well, because logging it on Facebook, as much as it helps vent your frustration, doesn't actually impact with anyone up in authority that can actually do anything about it. And I really feel that this is only going to get resolved by the momentum of residents putting pressure on people that can actually resolve it. And the more it becomes a nuisance, and the more it becomes a pain for the people that can resolve it, the more likely are to act. Because as James said, it's a big decision, it's a big site, it's going to cost a lot of money for them to enforce it and maintain it as well, and take it to court, and they need as much evidence and as much information to be able to make that decision and to be able to back it up. So every weekend, I understand that they're advertising there's going to be a boot fair there on Wednesday. Everyone needs to report that. Next Saturday and next Sunday, Saturday and Sunday, everyone needs to report it and use the app. And I know it's monotonous, and I know that it takes time, and I know that it's frustrating, but the more that we do together to create the noise about it, the quicker it will get done. Because I agree with you. I can understand people's frustration when they say, well, no one seems to be caring, nothing's happening. Couldn't be further from the truth, because in the background, everything that we're doing, that it's hard to shout about doing something when there's no end goal. So we can say, oh, we've chased it, but it doesn't actually help appease anyone. But when we're all doing it every single time, multiple people, multiple days, multiple reports, on and on and on again, every time we do it, it will eventually get resolved. And the less that happens, the longer this will take to get resolved.
Yeah, thank you.
Peter, please.
Yes, just to say to Josh, thank you very much for your comments, questions. There is 2 open kind of investigations taking place. One is the planning element, and the other one is through the community safety unit, which is, I believe, what you spoke about just now with regards to antisocial behaviour. So there's 2 ongoing investigations within Ashford Borough Council. So you can log antisocial behaviour as one kind of report. You can log the motocross as another, which is obviously planning, and you can also log it as a noise nuisance. So the more things that you kind of report, the better. I know that some residents have been given a sheet so they can record the day, the time, and the level of noise that's been made, so they can see how far the noise is travelling, so that if they've got your address, they can say that if you live in Roman Way or Sheepfold Lane or somewhere like that, you can hear it in your back garden. So it's just to say that obviously there is multiple departments within Ashford Borough Council looking at the issue. So obviously the planning and the antisocial behaviour, and then obviously the noise as well. So yeah, just keep reporting it. If you have to report it more than once, that's what you should do, because then it's multiple. With regards to the boot fairs last year, they got stopped because of the police intervention with regards to the person reversing down the slip road because they missed the entrance. But I did do a lot of work with the Highways England, who are responsible for that part of the road, and they had a gang of like their kind of highways team on site on that day and recorded the footage onto the dash cam. Which is why the police got involved. But the police have also said that if anyone reports any dangerous parking on the verges, then they will obviously go down there and issue any kind of enforcement that they can. So it's important that if you're driving past and you see more cars parked up on the side or blocking an entrance or making a dangerous kind of hazard, report it to the police, because then they can obviously deal with it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Is that as best we can sort of answer what we can, Josh? Sorry.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, absolutely, James. I know it's an ongoing thing, and you guys must, get a tranche of emails every Monday. You must dread it, but like you say, it's just constant repetition. Keep reporting it to the same people over and over and over again. And as you say, I think as Ben said, just become the crocodile closest to their particular canoe, so that the only way they can deal with it is by fixing it.
I mean, my understanding is that it is being very actively worked on by a number of groups, and I guess that's the only reassurance I can give residents. But we do need to keep reporting it to make sure that they do keep working on it.
Yeah, I think. I mean, like I say, I don't use Facebook particularly often. I might have to start using it and making suggestions that people stop moaning about it on Facebook, as you say, and actually, here's a number to report it to, or use the form, because that's the only way it's going to get changed, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, if someone on there is commenting that you need to report it as well, I guess it's highlighting to people when they're seeing the discussion that this is the way to deal with it.
Yeah.
So, in some ways, it helps get the numbers up, but as long as they're actually doing it,
yeah.
But they do need to have faith that it is being pursued by the people that need to pursue it. And I mean, there have been some suggestions of take things into our own hands and things, and that's not
the cleverest.
helpful. No.
No, not at all. Thank you very much,
Thank
everybody.
you. Okay, did we have any other residents wishing to ask questions, please? Debs, please.
Partly a question, but partly in response to what Josh said about online community groups. It's a great way if the parish or anyone else wants to get messages out there, because there's quite a few of us locally who use that group, and any links, like I've just written down here, sheet form. So people do complain more on social media, don't know where to go, or say 101 or whatever. So now that I know that information, I can share that internally. But if the council, if it's appropriate to do so, using those social media groups to say, if this is an issue for you, this is the link you need to click on, that would be so helpful. But also to exercise some caution, only because a very close friend of mine made it very clear on social media of her displeasure with the motocross. And also we have lots of lovely bikes flying down the A2070, which is wonderful. Nice sunny afternoon, nice cup of tea in the garden. And it sounds like you're at Brands Hatch, and I've been to Brands Hatch. Doesn't bother me so much, but she was quite vocal, and she was inappropriately contacted via a private message. And also the individual who we believe is linked to the land where the motocross is happening was contacting her via her landline because she was on Next Directory. And there were some very unpleasant messages sent. So whatever you're posting, please share with your friends. Whatever's posted on social media, please be very careful. Don't make sure that your details are private. We've sorted that out for her now. Because unfortunately, I saw petitions going up about the bikes last year. And there were some very upset bikers who were coming online and saying this, that, and the other. So social media is a great tool to share information on how people can report, and I'll be sharing it with colleagues, but also be mindful of your own safety, because there's always one or two, isn't there? So that was just a sort of a comment and a follow-up. So would the parish think about that? Is that something them or the council could do, like use? Ben, hands up. I'll shut up now. Thank you.
Ben, are you responding to that one?
Yeah, Debs, again, I can only second everything that you said about, I think that social media is a fantastic tool, but you have to be measured in the response that you put on there. And obviously, the more information about yourself that's on your social media, the easier it is for people to contact you and stuff like that. So do be careful when doing it. But I will work with Peter. We do have links and stuff like that, and I'm a member of the group, and I will issue some Kingsnorth Parish Council kind of stuff with links on where to go and how to report it and stuff like that, if that would help.
That would be a brilliant idea, I think, for anyone who's in the parish as well. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, James, if I could just come in on there with the social media, we have got quite a good following now on our Facebook page. I think over 1,000 likes, and we do share obviously the links to how to report it. But what I might do is if I find a spare 10-15 minutes, I'll actually do a video so that residents can see how easy it is to report both on the website and through the app, so that they can see how easy it is. Because it literally takes probably less than 2 minutes.
I think that'd probably be helpful because people always assume it's going to be really painful, don't they? So, yeah. Thank you. Do we have any more questions? No? No councillors with questions or residents with questions?
Hi.
Hi.
I can only apologise for my name being shown as Fluffy. Yeah, my first use of Zoom, but there you go. That was a practice. Anyway, could I please inquire as to the use of the field that's within the field? Can't really describe it very well. It's that we used to have sheep in. It's padlocked, 5-bar gate, next to the orchard, leased by the farmer, I believe. My name's Mary Cook. I think Peter knows of me. Yeah, nodding, yes. I was wondering, I've heard rumours that that land is no longer leased by the farmer, and I was wondering if that was the case.
Okay, so my understanding is that land is still leased by, and on a long-term lease at that, by the farmer, and he leases the land essentially from the playing fields, which are owned by the parish council, up to where the Highland cattle are grazed. He leases that land from Ashford Borough Council and has it on a long lease. I don't think he'll mind. He does intend to continue grazing much of that, but there's been a discussion about we're starting to have a discussion about the future of the conservation fields in general and how they might be managed in the long term. And he might be open to releasing some of that land to the parish council if we had need of it. But otherwise, my understanding is that he intends to continue grazing it himself.
Okay. Because I think I've certainly been in correspondence with Peter, and I believe Peter made it known to others within the council that I was basically putting forward a non-profit business to rent the fenced off field within the field next to the orchard for basically lockdown pups, dogs, to get them socialised. They are throughout our community, and they would be better in the community if they had the opportunity to be socialised both with other dogs, humans, etc., etc., and basically charge by the hour as other places do, but enough to cover the rent that I would pay yourselves, and anything above that would go to the parish council for whatever use that they see fit. So it would be a moneymaker for the parish council. It would help people with their lockdown pups and socialisation, making them safer dogs for the community, and be a good space and a well-used space. Whereas at the moment, people are jumping the gate and taking the dogs in anyway, and having picnics in it anyway, and leaving rubbish in it anyway. So it's to me, when I can see a good purpose for it, the land is just laying idle. And I was hoping to be able to rent it.
Okay. So the ability to rent it to you is not within our sort of gift, as we don't have the tenancy. But if you'd like to, a couple of weeks ago we had a meeting. Sort of, in the precept letter, we mentioned about the conservation fields, the future management, and also about allotments. And we had an initial meeting about that a couple of weeks ago with residents that had expressed an interest, and they've requested a further meeting, which will now be in about 4 weeks' time. I don't know if perhaps you'd like to come along to that, and because it sounds like that's a use you'd like incorporated in the conservation fields, and that might perhaps be one of the better forums for discussing it. Maybe
that would be really good. If I could, how would I find out where and when that is?
I can ask Peter to make sure you're on the list when it will. The first one was just people that had expressed an interest directly, but I think the next meeting we will be putting on social media so that a wider group of residents can come if they'd like to.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Thank you for hearing me.
That's right. Thank you very much. Do we have anyone else wishing to ask questions at all?
We've got a couple of questions in the chat. One was, are we still planning on planting trees? Which we are. We just have kind of put it on the back burner with kind of other priorities, but we are still looking at planting trees. So we're open to any suggestions for any other places. Then we can speak to the landowners if we need permission.
Okay. And sorry, can I add to that one, Peter?
Yep, go for it.
The parish council actually owns very little land in the parish, and we're a bit wary of just, although we want to plant trees, at the same time, I'm sure residents have something to say if we start planting them on the playing fields and things. So we need to find the right places for them and where they add a lot of value and things, and where we can get consent from landowners, which might be Ashford Borough Council, maybe the easiest one, but that in itself is actually quite difficult as well, because their legal department's under a lot of pressure, and we find it quite difficult or lengthy to get agreement on some things. So if you know a landowner that's interested and where it makes sense, then do let us know. Sorry, Peter.
That's okay. And then the second one was on allotments. They put their name down for allotments in 2015, but as yet nothing's happened. And what's our allotment still being planned?
Okay, so my understanding is that both the Kingsnorth Green and Court Lodge developments are have contributions towards allotments in their section 106. I did understand that Kingsnorth Green was supposed to have allotments on the site. I kind of got an inference at a meeting that that might be being rethought, but don't know that for definite. So I think that the parish council will need to form a view on that, and if they want allotments there, then push for those, because it may be that the developer or Ashford or that they're potentially looking for them not to go there now. So we will need to reach a conclusion on that. And similarly with Court Lodge, I imagine that they would be required, due to the size of it, to deliver allotments on site. So we'll need to be vigilant that whether that actually happens and that the site's suitable for it. There were allotments originally planned for Bridgefield, but they were on the floodplain, and at the time the Environment Agency was saying that there were issues with the runoff and the chemicals that could be expected from allotments. I understand subsequently that there are solutions to things like that. But I have committed, as part of this allotment group and conservation fields discussion, to finding out exactly what did happen on Bridgefield, so that we know what the current position is, and perhaps can take lessons from it in identifying further sites. Okay then, so if there are no more questions, then I think we'll finish there and then come back at 7:30 for the council meeting if people want to. But otherwise, members of the public, I'm sure you may not want to attend another meeting for probably till 9 o'clock, but you're very welcome to do so if you'd like to.
Thank you very much for allowing us to join. It's been really helpful. It's very much appreciated. And thanks to Josh for the brilliant point.
Thank you, everybody. Really good.
Thank you. Night, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Good night.